All right, welcome Hannah to the ITA Student Athlete Podcast. I'm so excited to have you on. You're a fellow Brit who's achieved incredible success in the States, not just as a playing career, but now as an assistant coach. So I'm super excited to hear about your story, how you came to the US, and the success you've achieved post-college. If you'd like to say a few words, go ahead.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you very much for having me on. I'm very excited. Been an avid listener of the podcast, so I'm excited to be on here and get to chat with you today.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Hannah. It's noted that you're our number one fan, so I really appreciate that. So let's get straight into it. I've known of you, I should say, growing up in England. You were a very successful junior, incredible to watch, I'll be honest. Very good. I was always impressed with the doubles. So when you wanted to look to come to the US, what was the recruitment process like for you? What were you looking at? Where were you wanting to go? Please tell us more.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I started thinking about recruiting, I was probably my middle of the junior year, so it's about March time, and I decided I wanted to look at good academics and good tennis. So that's kind of where I started. A couple of my coaches at Bolton Arena helped me out. Susie Riley at the time helped me compile a list of different schools, and then I kind of just started by emailing them, reaching out, filming a video, and kind of going from there, getting in contact. I remember at the time I was doing lots of Skype calls in the evenings and things, and it really went from there. And then just building relationships, kept talking to coaches. A couple of them came over, watched me play a few British tours, or came and watched me practice and got to chat with them in person. And then, yeah, I went from there. I decided I really wanted to visit before I made a decision. At the time, you had to wait until your senior year. So I waited until, I think it was end of September, October time. And I took 4 visits all at once. And yeah, after that, I kind of came home and I knew exactly where I wanted to go after those visits. Yeah.
Would you care to share where you went on those visits?
Absolutely. I went to Northwestern University, I went to William and Mary, I went to Rice, and I went to NC State. And it was quite a mixture of schools. Really enjoyed all the visits. And yeah, it was a really tough decision for me. I think meeting all the teams, seeing the environments, different facilities, the coaches, and yeah, and but after that, I just had a feeling when I was at Northwestern. I feel like they're hard to describe. Everyone's always like, why did you choose there? And it was just, honestly, it was just a feeling, connected really well with the team, the coach, and just really loved the whole vibe and what Northwestern tennis meant to the team, to the coaches, and what they wanted to go and what they wanted to achieve.
What were your first thoughts when coming to the US? Because I don't think we've got anything that can simulate what they have out here in terms of like setup and facilities. So were you impressed? Were you kind of taking it in your stride? What were your first impressions?
Yeah, I was super impressed. I mean, when I first took the visits, I was like, wow, yeah, I was like, this is really cool. Like you said, like the facilities at home, like can't really match up to this, especially at the time. And yeah, I was like, wow, I get to practice somewhere like this. Northwestern's facility is incredible. Indoor courts right on campus, outdoor courts are across the street on campus, and then we have a beautiful beach and lake right there. You look out the gym and you're just staring at this beautiful lake. It's incredible. So I was blown away. All 4 years there, I was blown away. You were studying, looking out this lake. Just a really beautiful campus and state-of-the-art facilities, and it was all brand new when I arrived, the Walter Building. So yeah, it was pretty special, I have to admit.
So, in case you didn't know, to anyone that's listening, Hannah did choose Northwestern, just from what you said there. So, you chose Northwestern. You've played under a legendary coach of college tennis, Coach Claire Pollard. She's been an incredible figure for college tennis and promoting the sport and has achieved immense success herself. What was it like being and working with a fellow Brit? Although she's from down south, so we'll let that slide. But what was it like, and what was it like playing there, and the academics as well? It's a really, really tough school to get into. So tell us more.
Yeah, I absolutely loved it. Yeah, I love playing for Claire. I think one thing she does every day is challenges you. She makes you better every day. She pushes you to get better. Just yeah, an incredible person, and just you felt so cared for there, and you knew without someone having to tell you. It was just this sense you got. Practices were always super intense, but there was always competition in there. It was always fun, and I think something that was so special was it was so unique and mixed up every day. We were always doing new things. Obviously, throughout the year there'd be like a couple of drills which worked really well, which we do often, but then other times you like never knew what to expect going to practice each day. And I really enjoyed that, and I found that really fun. Um, yeah, just yeah, really incredible. And I love how she promotes the sport as well. Doing so much on the boards as well, and always having such interesting conversations in the car. We'd be discussing scoring formats or how we can get more people to watch tennis. How can we get it under 2 hours? How can we get it on TV? All these things. We'd always chat about different things as well, and outside of tennis as well. So it was kind of just yeah, an incredible experience.
We actually have a question from Coach Pollard. She would like to know, what are your thoughts on the chip lob return in doubles?
I think that's the best shot ever. That is my signature shot in doubles, signature return, especially yeah on that backhand on the do side. Best shot. I think everyone should learn that shot.
Okay, fantastic. So
Mhm.
tell us a little bit more about a day in the life at Northwestern.
Mhm. Yeah, when I was there, the typical schedule, if we were lifting, we'd lift at like 8 a.m. in the morning in the weight room, get in a good lift, and then we often conditioned a little bit during the lift. We'd be done by 8:45 and then normally have classes in the morning. If you had a break in your schedule, go in and get an individual in for an hour or so. And then one of the highlights of the day was your lunch in Nona Joe's, which is the student athlete dining hall. And that was always a really good time. Lots of different teams were always in there, cross country, golf, tennis, the guides as well. So it'd be social hour, which was always nice to connect with different people, hang out with your team, hang out with friends, get in a good meal, and then we often train in the afternoon. And then yeah, post practice ice bath. Or if it was warm enough, we'd jump in the lake. That was always a fun thing to do. And sometimes when it wasn't warm enough, we'd be out there jumping in the lake. And then, yeah, shower, dinner, and go study in the library or hang out with friends and study.
Sounds quite fabulous. You mentioned a lake and a beach there. Am I correct in saying that?
There is a lake and a beach there.
I did not know that the water would be warm enough to get in there, or were you just extremely brave?
Oh, during the summer, it's absolutely beautiful to get in there. I have been in there in March and it is a little bit chillier then. But I mean, you can't not go and it's right there. It's literally like you walk out the athletic training room and it's there. So you've got to take advantage of this. Um, and yeah,
What do you prefer then, that or the ice bath?
I've always got the lake all day.
That's fair, that's fair. So, in regards to balancing academics in tennis, what was that like for you? I know, like I said, Northwestern, incredibly hard school to get into, really strong academically, and again, the tennis and the level there is just crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So, what was it like trying to balance the two? Did you ever struggle with anything like that?
Yeah, I think balancing the academics and the tennis at the beginning was a little bit of an adjustment. But slowly as you found your rhythm, you got really good support there. So we had academic advisors, we check in weekly with, we'd have tutors if needed. So you just really stay on top of your course load. If you're missing things, make sure you got a tutor for that class. But everyone was there to support you. Even the professors were really understanding as well. I actually studied learning and organizational change and I did a business minor. So lots of my classes were pretty collaborative as well. It was a space where lots of people end up going into consulting, which is what I thought I was actually going to go into during my time at Northwestern. Just because I really enjoyed that type of work, working with people, doing all that thing. So over time, it definitely became more manageable, especially once you like figured out your schedule, how I worked best, making sure I just allowed myself time to study. I work best studying alone, so I'd hang out with friends for an hour studying, but then I'd have to take myself away and go sit in a quiet spot for the next hour or two. Um,
Very nice. What was your hardest class?
oh, my hardest class was corporate finance for sure.
Gosh, do you enjoy math?
I do. I do. I took math A level, A star at math A level. So math is my thing, but corporate finance was whew.
That was really hard. Okay, so tell me a little bit more about the team dynamics and the tennis side at Northwestern.
Mhm. I think the team has like a history that's kind of a legacy. You come in and the seniors, the fifth years are kind of walking you through it, telling you how it's done, showing you how it's done. I'd say more than telling, and really they really build the culture. They set the tone each year, which is something I found really cool coming in because I could ask them so many questions and they'd explain things, help me through things. And just yeah, really help you and teach you how to do things. And I have such strong relationships with all my teammates from Northwestern. A fifth year, my freshman year, I'm still super close to, and now the freshmen, my senior year, are seniors there. So there's a lot of connection, and I think that's something that's really special. Is it really feels like a family when you're there. You're really supporting each other, helping each other, and yeah, I'd definitely say the seniors kind of set the tone each year, and it's really fun to see, and even now still feel connected to a program that I've been part of.
What would you say makes Northwestern so special?
That's a really, really tough question. I would probably say Claire and the team. Like the facilities are amazing, but I don't think that makes a place at all. I really think it is the people and just how you're cared for there, how you're treated, how you're challenged daily, how they want to make you get better. I think it's a place where you can go and you're gonna get better, and you're also gonna not be a better tennis player, but a better person as well. And really grow and be challenged in all areas. So
I think that's such an important part of college tennis is not just the development as a person on the court, but off the court as well. I found that to be extremely rewarding and challenging. Don't get me wrong, but you do so much growth as an individual while in college. So I think that's very right. If you had to say, what would be your most memorable moment at Northwestern?
it's a tough one. I would say I think one of my most memorable matches at Northwestern would be my junior year. We were playing national indoors in one of the qualifying rounds. We were at NC State, and we beat NC State, which was upset, and that helped us qualify. And I think in that match, myself and my partner Julie Byrne, we beat the number 2 team in the country in doubles. And it was a thrill. I think it was like 11-9 in the set breaker. So that was a really fun match for sure. I think a fun one for my freshman year was the senior day weekend. I clinched against Ohio State, and it just so happened like my parents were in town and most of the international parents were in town. So we also got to hang out off the court with like all our parents and our family. So that was also just super fun being around everyone's family as well.
Well, sounds quite wonderful. Was the Chip Loberton in play in these matches?
Absolutely, you know it. That was my go-to. As soon as people started standing back to back, I was like, uh-oh, what do I do? But if they were up at the net, chip lob all day. My team now, today, just at practice today, I was using my chip lob return. They all know when they're playing with me, they have to point up. They direct instead of direction, they just put thumb up.
Look, if it works, it works. Why mess with perfection? Am I right? So
It's my signature shot.
own it. I love that. So you sounds like Northwestern was the perfect fit for you. You created some incredible memories there. But then you've decided to move on to Maryland for your master's. What promoted that change, and what was that transition like for you?
Yeah, I absolutely love my time at Northwestern. Incredible. Would choose it over and over again. And then I just knew I wasn't done with college tennis, having the opportunity to play another year. There was not a scholarship there at Northwestern, so I knew I needed to go somewhere else. And kind of when I was thinking about it, I knew my number one thing was I really wanted a good person and then a good coach. That was kind of my criteria, and I sat down and Claire helped me through this as well. and really mapped out what I was thinking and put me in touch with Coach Katie and Coach Ruth. And I spoke to them a couple times, took a visit, and I just really loved who they were, what they were about. Great people, great coaches, and they have a great love for the game as well. I think that's something I grew up with. My coaches back in England, Simon Thorney, Will Richard Crabtree, always loved the game. That was like a big thing for me as well, is keeping that love for the game throughout. And again, at Northwestern, there was always that love for the game. So yeah, it kind of really worked out in Maryland. I got to choose to do a master's in management, which I'm so grateful for. At the time as well, thinking I was going down that consulting route, it was the perfect master's degree to get. Still super grateful I got it, because it's definitely lots of transferable skills into this role that I'm in at the moment as well. So yeah, it was really exciting to go play another year of college tennis, get to be in the Big Ten, compete against my old team as well. A little less fun, but yeah, it was really awesome, and I'm really grateful that Coach Katie and Ruth gave me that extra year to play, and I got to do it at Maryland.
How is it different from Maryland to Northwestern?
I think at Maryland, they were going through more of a building stage when I was there. Coach Katie had just been the head coach for a handful of years at that point. So really just building up that team and really building that culture and things. And it's been so cool seeing the change over even the last 2 years. I've seen like how close the team are, how well they're doing, and they're really building to that next step. And I've loved following that progress. I'd say that's probably the biggest difference with Claire having been at Northwestern for, I think, 25 years around over that now. So just really that timing wise, I think, is probably the biggest thing.
Hmm. And you've mentioned they're great coaches. What for you is a great coach?
I think a great coach is someone who really cares about the individual on and off the court, someone who's willing to challenge them to get better. They have ideas on how to improve their game. They're willing to put in the hours to work on the game, improve the game, and also be around off the court to chat and go through matches, watch tape, different things like that. Yeah, someone just who wants to help you get better, has like a development plan for you to get better. And yeah, holds you accountable.
Wonderfully said. I love the hold you accountable part. I think that again is another massive part of coming to college, playing these matches. It's you have to really be able to look at yourself and say, okay, that was my bad, because it really is your fault. So no. The I wanted to ask, now that Maryland, what was your high points there?
Maryland, that's a great question. I think at Maryland, the high points probably, I'd say we used to have team meetings once a week with Dr. Hall.
Mhm.
At the beginning, the meetings were a little more challenging. By the end, they were incredible. Everyone was so vulnerable in those meetings. It would be an hour. We'd chat about so many things. And I think that just really changed my perspective on loads of things. And we just really got a lot closer with the team, developed so many different skills individually, but also as a group. And it was just so special because it really helped us bond together. And I think one moment on court is probably when someone clinched and we all just ran over to that court and we were jumping up and down. And we have so many pictures from that specific moment, which was just so special. Just seeing us all come together and just feeling so together in that moment was something that was really special for me.
Were you doing sports psych sessions? Is that what you were mentioning?
Yeah, it was all sports psych sessions. Yeah.
Are you an advocate for sports psych?
I am. I am. It's definitely something I did a little bit growing up, and then not too much at Northwestern, and then we kind of started doing it at Maryland more. And I definitely found it really useful, and we just went in so much depth each week. And I think when the team was all bought in, it was really productive, and just with everyone being willing to be vulnerable. We had an emotional wheel we talk about, different things like that.
Yeah.
It really did make a difference. And I think the main thing why it worked was because we all did buy into it. And it did take us time. It took us a couple weeks, a couple months, but like there was a turning point, and all of a sudden everyone was there and everyone was into it, and it did make a big difference on court on game day as well.
Was it a challenge trying to get everyone to buy in? I know that's not really your responsibility, but did you see that?
I think it was at the beginning. People were more hesitant to share or would kind of, yeah, question things a little more. But slowly over time, I think as more and more people bought into it, it kind of that then everyone kind of, I think, just realized that like, okay, we're gonna try and make a change and we're gonna do something and it's gonna make us better. And it really worked. It was really special. And I believe they still do these groups and I think it's yeah, working and I'm sure they're chatting about way different things than we were chatting about. But yeah, just getting better each time.
Well, I'm so glad to hear. I know that like it's becoming more a lot more schools are doing it, and it's something that I'm personally like really interested in. I think there's such fine margins now that separate you from being better and competing with those bigger teams. And yeah, I think it's a great thing to get involved with. So
Absolutely. I think anything where you can get better and improve and get that 1% is an advantage and something I definitely did for myself. I found the transition really tough from moving from Northwestern to Maryland, and in the fall I really struggled, especially with singles.
yeah.
And I ended up going and chatting through the sports psych, and I got lots of little anchors or different tools for myself to use in matches just to help me through in those moments. I'd get into good positions and then struggle to close it out, or different things like that. And we'd have little strategies for when that happened. And it was also so meaningful. Like the sports psych, Dr. Hall came and watched some of our matches, so she saw it in those moments and could then relate to it when I was chatting through things with her.
Why was the transition so challenging?
I think it was just like a new environment for me. At Northwestern, I have like lifelong friends. I'd such a great community around me, which obviously had built up over 4 years. And then it was just moving to a new place, new people, and not immediately having. I was living with my best friends at Northwestern, and then it's finding new people, building that up, and then yeah, just I think just the transition stage was harder the second time around.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, we got there in the end, figured it out by season, and then yeah, had a blast through the spring.
Was it 2 years your time at Maryland, or did you do like a fast track for
It
your
was just 1 year, so it was really quick. Yeah.
Wow, so you managed to get your master's degree in 1 year. That's pretty,
Mhm.
that's very impressive, Hannah, actually.
Oh,
That's
thank you, thank
very
you.
And what was it? You know how you said you struggled finding that newer group again of friends? How did you, not that it's sad or anything, like how did you manage to do that? Because I know a lot of people that when they do transition, that is a big fear for them is how can I find my people again?
Yeah, I definitely think it's a hard thing. I think something I value highly is community as well. And
Mm.
I'd found that so well at Northwestern, my first year through the team, and then after that, even outside the team, and just really grew as a person. And then just going to that new environment. I was lucky I had a roommate in Maryland who was on the gymnastics team, and I got on super well with her. So that was really nice to have that person and met some of her friends. And then as time went on with my master's program as well, people started to get jobs and started to have more time. And I think everyone kind of realized a couple of months in, we were all in the same position. We didn't know a lot of people. And we also came really close as a cohort. So that was kind of special, just spending more time. If I wasn't rushing to practice after class, I could hang around and chat to people. But that is sometimes a tough thing with college sports is like you get dropped at class for class and then you're getting picked up to get taken straight to practice or you're heading straight to the courts. So you have less of those moments just to hang out with your cohort. But definitely I found my people there through spending more time outside the class with classmates.
Mm, very interesting. You mentioned earlier on that you wanted to be a consultant.
Hmm.
Wow, that is a very impressive job to go into. So what changed? What inspired you to get into college coaching?
So I think the idea had kind of been there throughout the spring of my 5th year at Maryland. And then it was only after at the Big Ten tournament, we just lost to Michigan. and we were kind of leaving the court. I just spoken to Coach Katie and Ruth, and we kind of, yeah, it was pretty sad, the end of college tennis. And I kind of in that moment was like, yeah, I think I want to coach. And they're like, okay, cool. And then Northwestern were playing the next match. They were walking onto the court. So I spoke to a lot of my old teammates briefly, spoke to Claire, and same thing, said I want to coach. And she's like, cool, cool. And then it was, yeah, kind of after that, we flew home and I was like, yeah, Coach Katie, Coach Ruth, I'm really serious about this. And they're like, okay, let's come in into the office, chat to us. We'll figure out like your resume, the skills you need, like rearranging things. Obviously, I had a very different resume for applying to consulting jobs versus tennis, and really went from there. It was interesting. We were flying home from the Indianapolis airport, and I remember vividly sat there with Marta, who was also graduating at the time, and we were just thinking like, what are we gonna do tomorrow? Like, college tennis is done. We're gonna have like we need to fill our days with something. And then it was a full circle moment. My first recruiting trip, I flew into the Indianapolis airport, saw the exact gate where I was sat, and sent a picture straight to Marta. Because yeah, we'd figured it out. But in that moment, I'd say it was just as soon as college tennis was done for me, it was being like, I'm not ready to be done with college tennis. And I'd love to coach. And I think I'm fortunate that I got all my coaches in college were women. I had one male coach at a time, but aside from that, so it was really inspiring seeing how they'd coached, what they'd done, how they'd helped me, not only as a player, but as a person. And that's kind of what got me into it.
That's really sweet. I really like that, Hannah. That was really good. So, how did the process go for you? So, you mentioned like your resume was completely different from,
Mhm.
consulting to going into coaching, but after being inspired by your college coaches, how did they help you and what was that process looking like for you?
Yeah, I remember I went in at, I think it was the Monday or the Tuesday after. We kind of sat there and they're like, okay, you need to write down like all your tennis stuff. So I was like, okay, writing all my tennis stuff down. And my coach goes, do you know how to string? And I was like, I don't know how to string. And they were like, you don't know how to string? I was like, no. And she was like, okay, don't worry, I'll teach you how to string. So I was learning to string. They're like, do you have your driver's license? I was like, I have my driver's license in the UK, not in the US. So they're like, okay, you absolutely need to get your driver's license. So when I got my driver's license, and then I was going into their office multiple times a day to string. Luckily, my house was not too far away, so I'd go string in the morning, go get my lunch, and then come back and string again. Just really trying to learn to go quicker. It took me 3 hours to do my first racket. I was like, I don't know how this is going to be sustainable. Got it down to 25 minutes now. We're good, but
Very good.
like
Okay.
learning different skills and like knowing what I needed to know. And then just looking for jobs. I was on Twitter, they were like, follow these accounts, on the ITA website, just reaching out to anyone I knew in tennis, who could help me. And it just so happened actually, I was in the office one day and I said, oh, the UMass jobs come up. And my Ruth had previously worked at UMass about 5 years ago. And she was like, "Oh, I worked with Coach JC. You should reach out to him and apply for that." So applied for that, and did a Zoom call, and then got the opportunity to interview in person, and had a long day of interviews. I think it was like 9 to 5, meeting with a ton of different people, chatting over things. Was pretty nervous. Flew up here for it. Did it all. Absolutely exhausted at the end of the day. But really enjoyed just meeting different people, kind of having like a mini portfolio of like my coaching philosophy, recruiting stuff, kind of who I was, what I valued, what I found important, just having that prepared so I could talk about it and going from there. And then yeah, I'd done a couple of other calls at the time with other teams, but I got offered this job, and I'd really enjoyed, yeah, my time spent with Coach JC, and so I kind of went with that, and yeah, ended up here at UMass.
That's a lot of learning, adjusting, and figuring things out. In what time frame are we talking here?
So with my visa situation as well, I had to apply for my visa pre knowing if I had a job. So at the time I was like, I need to give myself the most amount of time. Anyone with the visas will understand this. So I did it for the latest date possible after you graduated. So I think my start date was the 23rd of July. So that was the first time I could start working. And I think I got the job around I think I was doing this in early July, late June, early July kind of time. So I moved up beginning of I think I moved up the 14th of July and then kind of started then. Yeah, so I had like a month or so trying to figure all this out, doing all the learning, and then yeah, when it all happened pretty quick. But then obviously I was a bit delayed with starting just because I couldn't work until my visa was approved and happened on the start date.
Was this through OPT first?
This was my OPT, so I had a 1 year OPT. So another thing for me also when I was looking for jobs was making sure I was looking at somewhere that they could sponsor. Because I did want to make sure I'd be able to stay after a year. And that's luckily UMass worked out as they sponsor as well.
Very nice. And what were these websites that you were using to find? I know the ITA has a classifieds page that posts stuff, but what was the Twitter account? Do you remember? Or
I think there was Tennis Odyssey, I want to say.
yeah,
Um, I can't remember the others. And I was on the classified site as well, I think. Yeah, I can't remember the others off the top of my head.
that's okay, don't worry. So it all came about pretty quickly then. So you got the pretty intense interview process at UMass, and
Mhm.
then you got the job. And explain to me your feelings when you heard you got the job.
Yeah, so I did the interview and everything, and then I think I flew back, and a couple of days later, JC set up a Zoom call. So we had the Zoom call, and then he was like, I think it was a Wednesday, and he was like, "Yeah, if you can let me know by Friday." So I was super excited about it all, and then I just wanted to chat things through. Obviously, luckily, I have Claire and Katie and Ruth all as mentors. So I chatted things through with them, and yeah, we all agreed it was a fantastic opportunity, and I'm pretty sure I called him back the next day and said yes. I made sure in my text that he knew it was a positive answer as well. But yeah, it was really exciting. I feel like once things got moving with it, it was all happening really quick. You're right.
You got the job, and then now you're having to move to another place. What were the
hmm
challenges and difficulties that came from another transition phase?
Mhm. Yeah, so that was interesting. When I accepted it, my coach Katie was like, "You should definitely look for a roommate." And I was like, "Well, how does one do that in the adult world kind of?" So she just said, "Reach out and ask if any other like young coaches are starting at UMass." And I got super fortunate. On the rowing side, there was another young assistant starting, Emma, and we got connected and lived together last year, and then lived together again this year with another one of the rowing staff, Sheehan, and just got super lucky. Got to basically live with two of my best friends now. So that definitely helped with the transition as well, just having people around that I really enjoy being around and getting to go and do things outside of sports with as well, and starting to like really build a life here and meeting new people. As I mentioned before about community being important for me. So that definitely really helped with the transition. Otherwise, I think it would have been a very lonely time. As you're so busy with work, especially. I had a month in the summer when the team wasn't around, so it was more 9 to 5 kind of style and just getting things prepared. But obviously, as soon as the season starts or as soon as the team's around, um, it's not your typical 9 to 5 job. So yeah, meeting people outside of it is a little bit more of a challenge, but definitely something I'm trying to prioritize as well. Yeah, to make sure I'm meeting new people and
Mhm.
yeah.
First year of coaching, how was it?
hmm It was pretty good. Winning a championship in the first year,
Mhm.
I can't complain. It was a really good year. I think we came in, we set the tone straight away. I think I brought a couple things over that I'd learned from my teams. Um, and we kind of just had a good first team meeting and really kicked off the year well. I I just really enjoyed getting to be around the team, getting to be around the sport in a different role as well. I think that was an interesting transition for me going from player to coach, but still in that same environment and competing as well. I think I was fortunate I got to hit in a lot, which I really enjoy doing, and getting to compete with the team and always making it fun and exciting. So yeah, it was a really good year. And it didn't obviously it came with its challenges as they all do with injuries and health and things. So it was it was a tricky bit in the middle there, and the team really did a good job to stick with it, stay resilient, and obviously playing the best tennis in April is what you always want. So that's kind of what we kept striving for throughout, and headed into the tournament feeling pretty confident overall. And then it was just like a really great run. The team did an awesome job, and yeah, I really loved my first year. And I think just winning it tops it off. But even if we hadn't have won it, I'd have loved it. I think it's really getting to spend time with the team, the individuals, the practices, and just seeing how each person grew as an individual and a tennis player. We had one Brit come in and hadn't played much doubles before, and then was playing excellent doubles by the end and all over the net. So different things like that are just really exciting to see, I think.
You won an award yourself, didn't
I
you?
did.
Yes, you did. Tell us about that award.
Yeah, so I got the ITA Assistant Coach of the Year award for the New England region, which was pretty special to get in my first year. So yeah, very grateful to have got that award and to have been nominated for it. And yeah.
That's a very cool accomplishment to have in your first year with the team and for yourself as an individual. So many congratulations for that. That's awesome to hear.
Thank you,
You
Abby.
mentioned a tricky bit. Oh, sorry, I cut you off. What were you going to say?
I was just saying thank you.
Ah, no problem. You mentioned a tricky bit in the middle there. What do you mean by that? What happened?
We were just dealing with some injuries. And then yeah, just had a couple tough matches that didn't kind of go our way. And yeah, when you kind of get in that sense and you're like, this could go one of two ways. This could make us or this could break us. And it made us. We got better, we learned from it. Everyone stuck with the process. We kept showing up daily at practice to get better. And really grew from those moments and made it big time. We were struggling with the deuce points. We were a team that didn't enjoy that deuce point. So we made it a thing at practice. We'd play deuce point sets or we just play deuce points. And it started off a joke. Someone was like, I love deuce points. And then they kind of kept with it. They kept shouting it and they really started embracing it. And I think that's another turning point when just like our mentality shifted on that. It was a big thing because you could see they didn't want it. It was in doubles. It was like, who's going to take it? No one wanted it. So we kind of were like, we want this point, and we're going to go get it. And just like flipping our mentality on that made such a big difference as well, for the rest of the season. And we were ready in those moments and we were ready for it.
Mm. Oh, wow. Okay. So you spoke as well about the transition from a player to a coach. Um,
Mhm.
you're obviously still very young.
Mhm.
So how has that been for you in establishing that role as being the assistant, as being someone of an sorry, I can't say this word. Help me out. Authoritarian? Is that right?
Yes, you got it. Authoritarian.
No. Figure with like women who are around your age.
Mhm. Yeah, I definitely say it was like an interesting thing and something I had thought about before coming in. And I think one thing I thought about was just like to really set that boundary of like coach versus friend and like on my personal Instagram, not having them follow me there. That's something I was lucky. I had Elise Hamlin as my assistant coach, my senior year at Northwestern, and she was a young coach at the time as well, still is a young coach. Um, so it's kind of having those things that she'd done to for us that I could then like kind of follow. And then also having more conversations with Claire about it. I got a text one day from one of my old teammates and they'd said that they'd been discussing it and like these are the things that they thought young assistants should do to really have that boundary, build those relationships and be like a good young assistant coach. And that was like an awesome text message to receive. Gave me a big list of different things I should do. And really learn from that. I think I'll say some of the list that comes to my head is like always carrying a notebook around, always having ideas on how to develop players' games, always being willing to chat. So like in the office, I think last semester, I had one player would always come in and chat with me Friday mornings. I'm going to try and do some more coffee chats this semester, just like getting out of the office, spending time with them one-on-one. What are some other things? Like no social media with the team. Um, and joining in fitness, joining in the conditioning. If they're doing the conditioning, I'm doing the conditioning, which I do try to do most of the time with them. I also run the conditioning, so sometimes it's a little trickier. I'm not. They don't enjoy conditioning days too much, but it's in our control. So we're not losing because we're losing our legs in the third set. Is my philosophy on that. But yeah, I got a good list, I think, of things to do and how to be, and really try and embrace that. I think another thing is like I am close to their age. I am very relatable to what they've been through. I've just been through it, or they are going through. So also using that and not trying to act super mature or grown up, or just really embracing that I can relate to many things they're going through and being there for them. I think another thing is like being in the office, staying late after practice or getting there early just to be around them as much as possible, and for them to know they can always come to me, and I'm always there to chat about tennis or anything else as well.
You mentioned you run conditioning. What's a typical conditioning session for Coach McColgan?
It depends. We have some people who use the assault bike, and then we have some people who run. So it's a mixture. We really enjoy 30 on, 30 off on the assault bike. And running wise, we try and do one longer interval each week and then some shorter movement around more tennis specific movement for the court. That's kind of how it looks in the fall, and then in the spring we just condition once a week. So then it becomes a bit more of a mixture. But we're just getting started up. We ran some 30 seconds on, 15 seconds off the other day for the runners. So they're doing a good job. They're fit. Don't you worry.
I'm not worried. I believe in you. I believe in you. It sounds fantastic what you have going on up there. Do they have a strength and conditioning coach or
Yeah, so we have an awesome strength and conditioning coach, Andy Brown, and he does all the team lifts with the team. I also chat through conditioning with him, so I'll come with my ideas. He'll help me. He maps out different times. So we do a couple tests at the beginning of the year, so we can get speed. So then it's very specific to each person. We can have people running set distances, so they're all working as hard as each other, but some people might have to be running further. And then if you're running shorter, you might run an extra set at the end just to make up the distance. But it's definitely collaborative with him, and he knows exactly what's going on and helps make sure we're doing everything to get them better. It just gives me a little bit more leeway as I'm with them on the court, seeing how the practices have gone. So if we've had a super tough practice day, then maybe conditioning's a little lighter, or if the practice has been less intense, we've done less movement, then we're definitely gonna condition a little harder that day.
so they have team lifts as well as Coach McColgan's special conditioning sessions
Uh-huh.
this week. That's a fit team we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
Holy smokes. And you join in with do you join in with the weights or do you join in with some of the conditioning?
Normally I try and be there for both. I'm always at lift. So I'm always at lift. I'm either trying to be a little social media person, content creator, getting some videos
Or
in, or I'll be joining in lifting or just do my own lift alongside them. But I'm always around, and then yeah, when I can, I jump in the conditioning and run the sprints with them, or jump on that assault bike and pedal.
are you the quickest one on the sprints?
Oof, I wish. We'll see. It's tough. It's close, I'd say. But
You'd back yourself to to be the leading lady in the sprints.
we'll see. I'm gonna say yes, and then if they listen to this, I'm definitely gonna be running some sprints.
That's very, very
I'll challenge them to some 17s. Let's see who's got this far in the podcast. I'll challenge someone to 17s.
that's, that's brutal. I hate a 17. Wow, so that is an incredible job that you're doing there. You're keeping very busy. You're establishing your relationships with the players. I think that's super rewarding, like as
Mm,
a coach, to
absolutely.
establish that with them and have these conversations. Yeah, sounds like you're doing a phenomenal job out there.
Mhm. Yeah, doing my best. So that's all we can do each day.
What is something that makes UMass unique?
I would say, hmm, I want to say the people again, because it is the people that make the place. It's just, yeah, I think it's awesome being around the team. I really enjoy being around them. Love it when they come to the office. Don't get much work done, but it's really fun just to be around them. And I think that's my favorite part of the job when the team's there, when we're at practice, when we're competing, just getting better. I think another thing that's super unique and special about UMass is the dining hall food. It's number one in the country. It is the best dining hall food. And I don't know about you, but I've been in there multiple times, probably 4 or 5 times over my year and a half here so far. And they have mussels in their dining hall. They have fancy food in there. So yeah, it's quite impressive.
Sounds like you should be dining there more often if they've got like an assortment of seafood going on. I hope it's not dodgy seafood, but crikey, mussels on?
Excellent stuff. Um, yeah, but yeah, aside from that, I'd say definitely the staff that I get to work with. Strength and conditioning coach, our trainer Scott, obviously JC, the head coach. It's a really, really great staff.
Mhm. So, with all your experiences so far, have you got any advice for any student athletes that are looking to go into coaching?
Yeah, I would say one thing that I wish I'd done is known that I wanted to go into coaching sooner and just like hung out with my coaches so much more. Because there is so much more they do than what I thought they did or kind of understood they did. Like I was kind of guessing, oh, the morning they're probably like planning practice and planning the individuals, and then in the afternoon or mid-morning, like they're executing the individuals and then it's team practice. But it's like the travel, the admin, the compliance stuff, the recruiting, like there's so much more that makes up the day. So I'd say like be around them, learn to string if you don't know how to string, get your
Mhm.
driver's license, do anything that you can like that, because that definitely helps you get ahead. Write down the drills you love as well. That's like one thing I wish I'd done more is just written down all my favorite drills. Because definitely stolen a couple of my favorite drills from both Northwestern and Maryland, and brought them with me to UMass. But yeah, that would probably be my main pieces of advice.
Perfect. I absolutely love that advice, and I hope people can use that and utilize it to work out for them. Now for a reoccurring segment,
Mhm.
a question from the previous pod, Michael Zhang. What is your favorite book to read or that you've read?
That's an excellent question, and good job. I had listened to the previous podcast, so I was prepared for this moment. But I would say a couple of books I love is How Will You Measure Your Life? I had to read that for a class at Northwestern called Design Your Life. An incredible class, probably my favorite class I ever took. I just really loved the book. It asked so many questions, and definitely a book I want to keep reading throughout my life. Another book I'd say is Legacy, all about sports, all about the New Zealand All Blacks.
I actually got that book for Christmas. This is cool. Okay.
Incredible. You'll love it. Sweep the sheds. There's so much good stuff in there. I really love that book. Um, and then I guess right now I'm reading East of Eden, a classic. Non-sport related, but just for fun on the side, you know. So always got a book going.
That's a stacked list of book recommendations there, so I'll make sure to look at the other ones that you mentioned. But now it's time for my favorite part, Hannah.
Mhm.
It's quick fire questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's
As
go.
a double specialist, what is your favorite drill to work on with the girls?
My favorite doubles game to play with the team is a 5 ball drill, 5 ball game. And definitely, probably my favorite thing to work on is formations.
That's a good one. You're gonna have to tell me about this 5 ball drill. What is it?
Okay, each team needs to be holding 5 balls on them in their pockets. The
Hmm.
first time you feed in with a 6th ball, so there's an extra ball. And
Yeah.
then the loser feeds in. the next ball. The one rule is you have to be behind the service line to feed. When one team runs out of all the balls, they get to get 5 new balls, and the other team scores 1 point. But they don't get to get any pick up any balls. And then we always play first to five. Super high energy. There's chaos. It's really fun. Definitely recommend.
Noted. I'll see if we can pull that off over here.
Recommend.
All right. Favorite tennis player?
Ooh. Right now, I would say Iga.
Okay. Favorite part about college tennis?
Game day.
The biggest difference between the US and England?
Ooh. Food.
Ooh. Which way are you going, US or England on that one?
I miss my Cadbury's Dairy Milk chocolate. And a Sunday roast.
No, that's a good call. That's a good call. All right. Favorite song?
Ooh. I have to go with River Flows in You by UMass. It's a piano piece.
What do you mean it's a piano piece? Do you listen to that? Is that like your pre-match song? Or
Not
what?
my pre-match song, but just like my favorite song of all time. In high school, I was probably about 12 or 13, and one of my classmates played it on the piano, and I was like, wow, it's so beautiful. And ever since then, I've just loved that song.
Okay. That's I'll give it a listen. I'll definitely give it a listen and see if I have the same sort of feelings. But do you have like a pre-match song or anything?
Pre-match song. I'd say my pre-match song at Maryland was Just Wanna Rock.
Oh, okay, that's good. That's a good one. And finally, what is a question that you have for the next guest?
Ooh. I would say, okay, so I have a quote board in my office, and I always get the team to come in and write their favorite quote on it. I love quotes. My favorite quote right now is "Don't worry about being the best, be the best at getting better." So I would love to know what the next person's favorite quote is, and I'll add it to my quote board.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you so much. We'll get that down and we'll ask the next person on the pod. But Hannah, thank you so much for coming on today. You've been absolutely amazing. I've learned so much more about you at UMass, Northwestern Maryland, and it sounds again like you're doing a phenomenal job out there. And best of luck for your season.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you having me on, Abby. I miss those days playing in Graves back when we were under 12s. I remember all those matches. It's been super fun to reconnect, and I appreciate you having me on here. Go
Okay.
UMass.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Right. Okay. Thank you, Hannah. Thank you.